to talk about first, before we get to the whiskey, before we get to 1982, tell me a little bit about the journey and why did you decide to launch a whiskey?
Had a conversation with Peter and Richard one day and talking about whiskies, and you know, he had plans for his own whiskey and he was saying, would you be interested in doing one for yourself? And I thought about it and I thought, well, it's nearly 40 years coming up for since 1982, and I thought it was a fantastic idea because 1982 meant so much to myself, the team, and the people of Northern Ireland, and in fact the people of Ireland completely. So it meant so much to them all, and it made a huge impact on everybody on this island. So I thought it deserved a whiskey.
And of course, we're going to talk a little bit about 1982 a little bit later. When you started your journey into the world of whiskey, did you think it was going to take this long? Because I know that there was a lot of tasting, a lot of organising, a lot of, I suppose, really getting the product right. Wasn't that the most important thing for you?
Well, it was a process, and if you wanted it to be right, you wanted it to be special and right on and spot on. And it has to spend at least 3 years in these barrels to become an Irish whiskey. So there was a lot of things happening, and it is a long time ago that we started it, but you know, it was worth waiting for. I'm very pleased, and the elimination process of when you're trying to pick, and Peter was brilliant. He had people who knew all their whiskies and pointed me in the right direction. They actually got myself and Deborah down one lunchtime. Had to get taxis home, by the way, and it was at least 18 or 20 different samples of whiskey, and I had to say in each two it was yes or no, and most of them are actually really good, but you have to choose one out of it, and then you eliminate it down to 10, and then you eliminate it down to 8 and 6 and 4, and we were left with the last three, and he said, can I have a wee look at the bottom? So he looked at the bottom, because he had put numbers on them and what he thought was the process of elimination, his favourite. And we had number 1 and number 3 in the last 3. So I was happy enough with that. And I picked number 1 because it did taste a wee bit like a Jameson, and I do like a Jameson. So
if you're allowed to say that, Gerry.
Listen, it's a compliment. It's a compliment. But
he did not rip off Jameson.
No, my father is a big Jameson drinker. At 93, he still drinks the Jameson. And we were at the wedding on Friday night. A lot of my family here, my sister, my brother and all. And thanks everybody for coming as well. It's great. And there's my old mate, Liam. Thanks, Liam and Tracy. You know, and the music man, where is he, Eddie? Hiding in the back there. Thanks, Eddie. You know, so it was great for everybody who put all the effort into it, and it's taken longer than I wanted it to take, but it's worthwhile. They're all complimenting the cylinders. That's what the last hurdle was. It was a work of art.
I want to ask him about this because I was over there while he insisted on signing every single
I signed every one.
And every single cylinder. I was like, Gerry, you already have your signature. He was like, no, you have to have both. Explain to me why it was important for you to have the cylinder, to have the signature.
Well, if you look at the bottom part there, there's a picture there, and on the left-hand side, you have the centre half, Alisanko, and then you've got Gordillo, who's the fullback, and you've Arcanata, the goalkeeper in the middle, and then there's somebody called Armstrong there sticking the ball in the back of the net. But it was a very, very special moment, and what it meant, I mean, we were no hopers. We're not supposed to be there. We're not supposed to score any goals. We're not allowed to do anything. We were there to make up the numbers. I don't think so. We weren't there to make up the numbers. But anyway, we had to get it right. So Peter then said, we knew somebody. I think you know who it was, the artist. We got an artist to take the draw from the actual picture, and it was obviously a one-off.
And really, I suppose that brings us back to the importance of having the right people around you, and Peter being able to give you contacts with those expertise and things like that. How important is it for you now to, I suppose, be out there in the football clubs promoting this? Because I know you've lots of gigs already lined up. And
what are you talking about? You know, I've already been out. You were in one of them with me. Crusaders, you know. And we've done Comber and we've done Carrick Rangers, but there's loads of other clubs like Ballymena United. Jackie Fullerton was there, and there was over 300 people. And it was many months ago, but I said at the time, let's get a bit closer to it when we've actually got the cylinders and we've got them signed and the whiskey's bottled and all. So this is it. This is it all done.
So we've got the book, we've got the whiskey.
Yep.
Is there something else coming?
The whiskey? I don't know. I don't know. Is there any more, Debbie?
Pregnant.
Oh. Sounds like the Beckhams here, doesn't it? Luther, posh spice. Hey, posh spice. There's a ring about that. He's the owner of the Spice restaurant, by the way. So posh spice, yes. But
when it comes to creating a whiskey like this, what were the things that you were thinking about in terms of the people who were going to drink it? Because we've seen Carl Frampton launch his, we've seen other sports people launch different drinks and things like that. But you were very particular about the type of whiskey you wanted and how it was going to be served.
yeah, my family like whiskey. My Uncle Mickey's not here tonight, but if he had been here, he'd been sampling the whiskey. My father was here for a few days for the wedding, but he is a big whiskey drinker, and he's a connoisseur when it comes to whiskies. Brother Sean loves his whiskey. He's here tonight. I haven't even spoken to him yet. What do you think, Sean? Nice, there you go. So I wanted them to taste the whiskey and go, wow, that's actually a really good whiskey. So that's what I wanted to hear, the wow factor. And when I first sampled it in the bottle, and when it was being bottled, and I just sort of thought, well, pour a little drop and let me taste it just to be sure. And I was thinking, that's good, I like it. And you want the flavours, you want the taste, you want people to sort of think, that's not an ordinary whiskey, that's a special whiskey, because it was a special occasion. And I want people to remember it for that reason.
And I suppose with it being a limited edition, there's going to be lots of people who are going to buy this and probably keep it.
Yep.
To me, that's a bit of a crime, given that it's so lovely. So I think you should all buy two.
Well, it's limited edition. There's only 1,500. It is limited edition, but you know, that makes it even more special. In the years to come, it'll go up in value. You know, as you know, that's what goes on with whiskey. So my mate Peter Lavery tells me. Well, I can't even see Peter. You hiding there?
What we're going to do is we're going to
I see your arm at the back. I see him at the back. Okay.
So if we could maybe get some people to help us, we're going to hand out a little taster sample to everyone, and then we're going to just talk you through some of the tasting notes and give you a little bit of an indication of what you can find in there. So don't drink it yet until we tell you a little bit more about it.
Did we put the pop-up on?
Nobody gave me the pop-up, Gerry.
I brought it in the door. I brought it in.
Late,
I see it. I see it. Where is it? I brought it in the door. Luther, where'd you put the pop-up? Oh, there's it there. Thank you.
Where's your pop-up that you don't want? Gee, thanks. I'm not busy right now. That's all on you. You keep that.
Eddie, would you do that, pal? Thank you. Cheers, Ellie. Thank you. Yes, I've actually looked at them before, but
I know, but just
you know, so
that's in there. Wait till everybody's got it.
okay.
So has everybody got one? If you haven't got one, make your hand up. Unless you look under 18, then you definitely can't have one.
Julie's is on a second one. Hey, don't be telling anybody. Julie, she can have a third, don't worry. Hey? Yeah.
Okay, so while Eddie's struggling with the pop-up that should have up 40 minutes ago, Tara?
Good question. Is it the other way round?
No, not yet.
Oh, here, we had this before.
Okay, so if I could have everybody's attention, we're going to go through the tasting notes with you. Gerry, focus.
Sorry.
1982 happened. Hi.
Listen, I was going to go and do it for them, but I'm too busy here.
You're busy.
Armstrong, Gerry Armstrong, what a worker he is.
You weren't his agent then? Why did he ever do it?
Nobody had agents then.
No.
You know, there was something that was due to happen, but I never had an agent.
So obviously with this being a blended whiskey, there's lots of beautiful tastes within that. So what we've done is we've asked Gerry to give you a roundup of what's in there, and a big thank you to Arisha, who helped us out, because we haven't a clue what we're doing really when it comes to
Arisha,
rugby.
Siobhan, they've all been brilliant. They've been fantastic.
So, Gerry, tell us a little bit about, so people have their whiskey on them. What kind of tastes should they be?
Right, and the nose of the whiskey is a creamy honey nut with a touch of a delicate floral. Now, I like creamy and I like honey nut. I don't know what floral it is, but it all adds to go to the palate, which is soft vanilla, which I do like vanilla, and it's a green apple and a hint of, you're going to love this, all spice. Right? You're going to love it, Luther. And then, of course, the finishing is a warming with a medium finish and a lingering spice. Spice is in there twice. You're glad you came now, Luther, aren't you? So it's just a trip, but it is a tribute. I mentioned it earlier. I can't really overemphasize. We played a football match in the World Cup in 1982. We won our group against the host nation. We beat the host nation, and we blew everybody out of the water, and the whole world just stood up and took notice of Northern Ireland. And 1.8 million, 1.9 million people. But it wasn't just that. It was the next day when Billy Bingham had said to me, go and check on the foyer. And the foyer had 350 odd telegrams from all around the world, from the Taoiseach, from the Reverend Dean Paisley, from America, Canada, Australia, you name it. They were coming in from everywhere. And it wasn't until then that we actually realised we had done something special. There were street parties in the Falls Road, there were street parties in the Shankill Road, and we had brought the communities together, which the politicians are still trying to sort out. You know, so we now have a system where if you get a team that will give you 120% commitment and attitude and belief in each other, we can make this wee country something special. Not that it's not special already, but it can be even more special. So that's what it means to me, the whiskey, and I hope everybody enjoys it.
I was at a match at the weekend, the Strikers, anybody who's a Crusaders fan, and the girls did an amazing job, but one thing that I noticed was the importance of teamwork and spirit, because they were up against a team that had 6 international players against their 1. How important was it for you guys to keep those spirits up on the field at that time? Because you were up against Spain, the whole world thought you were probably going to lose. You had to keep, I suppose, your mindset in the right place.
You want to see our team talks beforehand. You know, we had team meetings. Martin O'Neill was our captain, and Martin brought us together and he said, right, you know, the Irish FA put a package to us, and you know, it was about £50,000 or £60,000 for the players, and they said, that's what they'll give you. And he said, you know, that's just to play in the tournament. But there was no mention of qualifying for the quarterfinals, and Martin negotiated a different deal where we didn't get paid in the first round. We only get paid if we qualified for the quarterfinals, which meant we had to finish in the top 2.
Nothing like an incentive.
Yeah, but it was 125 grand. He negotiated, and he sat us all down and said, right lads, you know, look at the group, you know, Yugoslavia, we can get a draw against Yugoslavia. And I went, Martin, they scored 26 goals in qualifying. You know, in 7 or 8 matches they scored 26 goals. We hadn't scored 26 goals in 10 years. You know, so it was crazy, and I thought, that's a big ask, you know, but we knew our strength. Our strength was as a unit, not one player. And like Pat Jennings was a special goalkeeper, and we all knew that we always had the best goalkeeper in the world as the last line of defence. But we had a fantastic back four, fantastic midfield, fantastic forwards, and everybody was going to give 120%. And then Billy Bingham pulled a couple of strokes. He changed John O'Neill at the back to John McClelland, who had a wee bit more pace than John, and John was brilliant, but John had maybe a little bit more pace. Then he went for up front. He put Billy Hamilton up front with Norman Whiteside, who was 17 years and about 30 odd days old. He's the youngest player ever to play in the World Cup. Nobody takes decisions like that, but our manager did. And then he put me in the midfield to strengthen our midfield and to protect Jimmy Nicholl. So these were all strokes of genius that Billy performed before a ball was even kicked. So it was all going on. We trained really hard, and we were focused on what we had to do. We got the draw against Yugoslavia. We took the lead against Honduras. We thought we could beat Honduras. Martin said, we'll beat Honduras, and we only need a draw against Spain. And I thought that sounds feasible, possible. and we were 1-0 up and hit the post, and then we conceded the goal. They made it 1-1, so we ended up drawing. It meant we had to beat Spain last game. So we had a meeting the day before the actual game by the pool. After training, we had our lunch and we were lying by the pool, and Martin says, right, come in here, lads. And he said, look, you know what's going to happen. First 20 minutes of this game, the Spaniards are going to come at us, and we'll do what we're good at. We get behind the ball, we'll work them across the play, but won't let them penetrate. And he said, and as the game progresses, their fans are going to get annoyed with them because we're not going to give them nothing. And he said they'll get frustrated, and he said then we'll start creating a couple of chances. We'll get 2 or 3 opportunities, we'll put one of them in the net, and we'll beat them 1-0. That's what he said the day before the game.
Can you remember the moment the ball hit the back of the net? Tell us what that felt like.
It was slow motion, Tina, because you don't get many chances, and it was the first clear-cut chance we had. The goalkeeper, Arcanata, had pushed the ball out to me, and I was running onto it, and all I could think was I could see bodies in front of me. There was Alessanco, there was Camacho, Arcanata had got back up again, and he was spreading himself, and I thought, hit the target, don't miss the target, get your knee over the top of the ball, hit it hard and low, and it did, and it goes through 2 sets of legs, not one, but 2 sets of legs before it hit the back of the net, and it was like slow motion. But the thing was, there was no cheer. You know, when the ball hits the back of the net, you wait for the roar. There was no roar, because the 50,000 Spaniards weren't happy. They were not happy. We had about 600 or 700 Northern Irish fans who were cheering all around the...
They were probably just shocked, were they?
No, they were cheering. Trust me, they were cheering all right. But I saw Norman put his hands up and Sammy McElroy putting his hands up, and they come running towards me, and I thought, where's this referee? Because the referee was really dodgy. He was a South American, and I looked over, and I didn't speak Spanish then, but the players were all talking to the South American Paraguayan referee, and I looked over, and he blew the whistle and pointed to the centre circle, which means it's a goal. I thought, shit, he's given the goal. So that was when you can celebrate, but it was the 47th minute. We had a long way to go, and Martin didn't say in his speech the day before that Mal Donaghy was going to get sent off 10 minutes later. So we played with 10 men for the last half an hour plus of the game, and they would never have scored, I'll tell you. We had them in our pockets. It was like no chance.
And once you get that goal, once you're on top, and the spirit of the team is behind it, do you think if it had gone the other way, you would have clawed a goal back?
I'm glad it didn't go the other way, Tina, let's put it like that. I've been there a few times before, but it was... you don't think like that. We know we have to keep a clean sheet, and we're good at that. We only conceded 3 goals in qualifying. Wow. That's something special, you know. And 1 was to Portugal, 1 was to Sweden, and we had a 1-1 draw with Scotland, who won the group. And the rest of the games we played really well. We beat Sweden 3-0. Yeah, that's crazy. Northern Ireland beating Sweden 3-0 in the World Cup, and then beating Portugal. How can we beat Portugal? I know Ronaldo wasn't playing then, but they were still a very good side, and we played them off the park. We deserved our win at home in Windsor, and we beat Israel the final game of the match to qualify, and it was a momentous occasion at Windsor Park when we did, and tens of thousands of people. There's a lot of them were here tonight that were there, and
when it was all said and done, and you guys came home the heroes, what was that like? Well, you know, because obviously at some point you finished the competition, but you were coming home heroes in comparison.
You don't get a chance to be heroes because we had about 10 days off, maybe less, and then you've got to go back into training with your club, and my club was Watford, and we were just promoted to top flight football, so I had to go to Norway and train and start all over again, and it wasn't until the October I got over to Belfast. There was a big event at the City Hall. I mean, it was 100,000 people, open deck bus, never seen anything like it. It was amazing, and all my family were there. My granny and she was a GAA woman there. She's up supporting me up there at the City Hall, and my aunt and my mum and the family were all there. It was fantastic. It really was brilliant.
Did you ever think when you were on the GAA pitch yourself that you'd be scoring the goal for Northern Ireland?
Never even thought I'd be a soccer player. I only ended up being a soccer player because I punched someone in Gaelic. I punched him too hard. That was what I did. Punched him too hard in the Gaelic and suspended for 6 weeks. So that was how I started my journey into playing soccer and playing for Bangor, and 3 years later signing for Spurs.
And of course, you're a commentator now, but it's a very different game today than it was back in your day. What would you say are the main differences?
Well, as Liam Beckett said, most of the game now is shite, isn't it, Liam? What do you say?
Liam, I just want to get you up next. So.
Or should I say manure? No, the game's changed a lot. It's a lot less physical. Players play act. They do. You touch them, they fall, they roll 3-4 times. How can you roll 3 or 4 times when you've been hurt? You don't. You know, and it's like 2 months after the World Cup, I was playing. We were top of the league, Watford top of the league. We weren't supposed to get promoted, and we weren't going to survive. And 2-3 months afterwards, we were top of the league, and I jumped for a ball and land awkwardly, and I break my ankle and my leg. But I think I'm okay, so I'm still trying to run on it, and it's not really working too well. So I go off and I think and I'm thinking, I don't want to miss the Germany game. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. I hope it's not too serious. And then you find out you've got a plaster cast going on for 6 to 12 weeks, and you're going to miss half the season. And I was gutted, but you just got to get on with it. You know, you persevere. And I'm looking at players now who go down at the drop of a hat, and I see players jumping with their hands, and the fingertips touches an opponent on the cheek, and they go down, and the elbows and all that. You know, I can't stand it. It's really not my type of game anymore.
And of course, you chatted about Liam. Liam, come on up. I'd love to get your thoughts on 1982.
Here's my mate, Beckett. Come on, mate. Liam Beckett, ladies and gentlemen. Come around here. You take that, mate.
No, here, you two take that.
All right.
I let you two
Are those subtitles sort of the road? Right?
For those who are not from Northern Ireland, Liam's from Ballymena. Or Ballymoney.
Jackie Fullerton always used to say to me, Liam, you know Jackie? That's right. He always used to say to me, Liam, speak slowly and concisely. For the first 20 minutes, everybody thinks you're Polish. So I could just say, maybe before I sat back down again, it's not very often we really get into be in the presence of, I think, greatness. And this man always puts himself down. This is one of our Northern Ireland's greatest ever legends, and I mean that. And I'm just wishing him and the spirit of '82 every success, because I love to see good, ordinary people like him, working class, a good lad who's done good, and an absolute credit to us. A Celtic right enough, but not a bad fella. But absolutely top drawer, and I just love to see, particularly a guy like this that doesn't get it reached to him, a bit like the Dunlops and other people like that, coming up the tough way, getting to the very top of their profession, and this is somebody we can always be proud of. He's never let us down, and I hope it's great success.
Thank you, mate.
I'm going to get this hairstyle next year.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
Liam. Thank you, Pat. Thank you.
Everyone, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate your time. We know that your time is precious. If you do want to purchase one of the bottles, you can in the shop down the back, or you can grab one online at spiritofeity2.com. So I want to just double check, because I always like to ask, is there anybody out there that has a question that they'd like to ask Gerry about the whiskey or even his career? I'm looking at the journalists in the corner.
Chelsea.
You have to save that for Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah. Paul. All right, Paul.
Is this confirmation that Gerry will get a slot in Belfast 24/7 show? And on
Mr.
Sky
Showbiz.
with Robin and Tim? Yeah, okay, thank you. We all heard that. Listen, everyone, thank you so much for your time. Feel free to mingle and have a chat with Gerry before you go.
Thanks, everybody, for turning up. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Cheers, Gareth.
And lastly, a big massive thank you to Eddie Briggs for the music.
Our entertainment, he's coming back on now.
And to Jen,
Eddie the man.
doing some photos somewhere. And my team, of course.
Hold on, Stuart. One question. Go ahead. Sorry?
How did you rack Elton John's product?
I never acted. I wasn't even driving. It was Luther Blissett. He was driving. I was in it, yes. But it was I went to my first party at Elton John's house on a Sunday. It was the Sunday before the season kicked off, 1980, 82. It was 82, yeah, it was the summer. And we went to Elton John's for the party. It was all the players and the staff and people who worked in the office, the ground staff, the people who brushed the terraces, they were all invited. And Elton said, have you been to the house before? I says, no, because a lot of the other players had been lots of times. And he had a five-a-side football pitch out the back, and he had a helicopter come in and landed. He'd just come in from Heathrow. He was over in the States, and he had the Stetson and all on. And Kiki D was lying by the pool, and he said she came to see him. I think it was about 4 months ago for a visit, and he said, she's still fucking here. I said, but it was a lot of fun, and he said, come on, I'll show you around the house. I've got the biggest personal record collection in the whole of the UK. And it was like the one room was just covered in records. It was amazing. And he said, have you seen the stables? And I said, I'm not really into horses. And he says, oh, I don't have horses in there. Luther. And he says, give me the keys. And he went in and he had a car for every day of the week in the stables. And one of them was a black Ferrari. And Luther says, come on, mate, we're getting the black Ferrari out. So he took me for a spin around the estate in the black Ferrari. And Luther is a real racing driver. He's great crack, but it was a lot of fun. That's the story. Stephen knew this story from before, but that's the story. Right, I'm going to let this get on now with Eddie's going to play us a few wee songs, and anybody who wants to talk about the whiskey or speak to us, come over and see me, no problem, thank you.
Pictures first.
Photographs, sorry, photographs.